Wichita City Council took a look at its local campaign finance rules, which were changed, you may remember, back January 2nd.
12 News reporter Brock Wilson was at that City Council meeting. He joins us now live in studio with a look at the proposed changes and what action the City Council took today. Brock?
At former Mayor Brandon Whipple's final meeting, the City Council voted to change its campaign finance rules that corporations and LLCs are not allowed to make campaign contributions to candidates in city elections. But the newly elected City Council is considering reversing that ruling.
Very important to be involved in our local government.
Josh Shorter is the chief operating officer of his family's small business and says they want to be involved in Wichita's political process.
As a business, we're actively involved in the community. We're actively involved. Policy impacts us. Workforce development impacts us.
But current campaign finance rules say corporations and LLCs are not allowed to donate to political campaigns, while everyone else is allowed to donate up to $500. Today, the council took public comment on amending the rules back to what they were before January 2nd. There were a lot of differing opinions, some for keeping the current rules.
We want to make this a foreign contribution. You want to have people from outside the state of Kansas giving you money.
Others wanting to go back to how it was before.
Businesses have a vested interest in city government, and they should have a say. Donating monies to candidates is one way to express their voice.
And some people on the fence, more concerned about financial transparency.
I realize that we can't do anything about PACs, and that's why I think transparency would be good. So I'm kind of for in the middle.
The council voted to add an amendment to require corporations and LLCs to disclose who they are when making a political donation. But the City Council ultimately voted to table it, sending it to district advisory boards so it can be better explained to the community.
If this were to pass, I would just ask that when the presentation is made at the DAB, it's so that everybody can understand the same language. So kind of campaign finance 101.
This now means advisory boards in each of Wichita's 6 districts will look at the amendment, make possible recommendations to help City Council members make a better decision on whether or not to pass it. The City Council will consider campaign finance rules again on March 5th.